Welcome back to the Divinity Original Sin's 2 guide through all of the different skills. This one here is going to target Warfare as the first skill because it is required in every physical build. I will start with all of the physical skills and then go through the magical skills. Each of the skills will have a very short review about where it is used and in which builds you would usually find it and what kind of role it would play. So, warfare as a skill, I mentioned it earlier in the introduction video, is by far one of the most used schools. It synergizes extremely well. It has a bunch of very strong skills. It has mobility, it has damage, and it first and foremost also has crowd control. So there is nothing wrong with using it, and you will find warfare mainly due to its secondary ability to boost all physical damage in nearly all builds that use physical damage. That is mainly either a one-hand tank, a two-hand weapon fighter, a scoundrel of some sort, so rogue/assassin, or an archer. The last build that is also viable is a necromancy build because necromancy deals physical damage. So if you look at the different skills, I will go through the ones that are relevant in the first two acts, because these are the ones that usually cause the most trouble, so you know exactly what you would need to use. First and foremost, I want to raise your attention to the scale column here, which basically tells you which of the three attributes these abilities scale with. And the wonderful aspect about this school is it scales with any of the attributes. So no matter which character you play, the abilities for warfare will always be viable. That is good to know because it also means as a necromancer, no matter if it is sensible or not, you can basically battle stomp if you have the right weapon, or use a battering ram attack, and you will deal decent damage, although you have skilled into intelligence. First and foremost, the two, in my opinion, most important abilities for the beginning, which is Battering Ram and Battle Stomp. This should be included in almost all of the builds that are using melee in some sort, fashion or sort. These both deal damage. Both are excellent abilities, and a couple of things that you might not know about the abilities, just a couple of pro tips, so to speak. Battering Ram gives you the option to knock people down, that one you probably have known. Battering Ram, however, also allows you to avoid attacks of opportunity, so if you want to retreat or reposition, that is a great option to do so. The pathing of it allows you to actually also knock down multiple enemies as long as you are kind of traversing them. So if you use that skill more often, you will see that it has its definitely its ability, its worth. Keep in mind, only enemies without physical damage can be affected. So next up, Battle Stomp. Also, a little pro tip there: Battle Stomp will remove the ground that it hits. So if you're standing in the middle of necrofire and you don't want to deal with it, if you have ice in front of you or any sort of ability ground that you do not like, just use Battle Stomp. It will clear the ground. On top of it, it deals a decent amount of damage, and it will crowd control the enemies. So these two abilities, in my opinion, are probably the strongest ones at the beginning. The next, so to speak, also strong abilities would be Phoenix Dive, which is an excellent repositioning ability for all of the characters. Keep in mind it deals a little bit of damage, so don't use it on NPCs. And last but not least, Whirlwind, which is usually for two-hand builds, an excellent ability to deal a lot of damage. One hand and tank builds will use Bouncing Shield. Keep in mind it doesn't scale with anything. That is on purpose because it is the tank is supposed to in this game the tank is supposed to go with Constitution, so they have not assumed that he would have any other abilities. The rest is also fine. You can do a lot of nice things with it, but if you stick with the core of these abilities, you will be fine. Now, how would you skill a warfare character? Let's go shortly through it. If you would play a one-hand tank, Warfare would still be one of the abilities that you skill until 10 because of Picture of Health, which allows you to gain 30% additional health. You would, with such a build, just use the crowd control abilities of it more and use Bouncing Shield. Warfare would be probably still one of the first ones you would get to 10. Likewise, for two-handed build, you would immediately go for and rush it to level 10. For any form of Huntsman build, you would go 2 points, respectively later 3 points into Huntsman, and the rest into Warfare. Last but not least, both the Scoundrel and the Necromancer would work analog. They would simply require 2 points in their respective skills, so Scoundrel or Necromancy, and then you would go with Warfare. So Warfare, pretty much for all of the physical characters, is the #1 carry skill, and you are supposed to go with it. I mentioned it in the intro video as well. Very important for the damage scaling. The damage formula of Divinity Original Sin uses Warfare bonus as a multiplicative value, so all of the damage escalates even more extreme the higher your Warfare skill is. I hope that was a good introduction. Let's look at the other skills.